what it says, because it says my Nigeria, your Nigeria, our Nigeria. So even if you were in Japa, you're still gonna come. Someone is looking at me like, but even though home is home, even though home is home, home is home, right? So we just have to play our part to ensure that we are cautious about. Yes, and that is Lobeko BJ Olariwaju joining us this morning, our analyst. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Esther.
Yes, so Lobeko was looking at me like, what are you saying?
Good morning to you. It's really great meeting you.
I know, right?
She's beautiful.
Bless her, take your flowers. Take your flowers. Thank you. Yes, you can join us live. You can join us live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube, WFM 917, to join the conversation. You can listen live if you're on the go. Just go over the website, www.wfm917.com. You can also download the mobile app to listen live, WFM 917. Send us your comments, your contributions. Let's get to hear from you this morning on the stories we're going to be taking across the headlines. 070-317-565-37070-317-565-37 is the number for you to send us a text or a WhatsApp message this morning. Now going into the headlines. The headlines on the Punch newspapers, we have 2023 polls, Soludo attacks Obi again, says ex-governor cannot win. Gunmen evade Imo Palace, shoots monarch, chiefs, villagers dead. Tinubu, CSO's IPC kick as NBC finds station. Half pay, ASU pays lecturers, intellectuals, not casual workers. Lagos community seeks government intervention over bad roads and flooding. Over to the Vanguard.
All right, checking out some of the stories you will find on the pages of Vanguard newspapers. Media owners, journalists, stakeholders agree on code of conduct, co-regulation, ombudsman. NSCDC smashes fake dollar syndicate, recovers $15,400 notes. Imo Monarch, 2 aides shot dead, says the police. Don't let Hafsari issue degenerate to another strike, says Nance Napton. Flood alert, reps call for supplementary budget of 100 billion naira, 200 billion naira in 2023 appropriation to fight menace. Over to the Guardian newspapers.
On the Guardian newspapers, NJ president seeks improved welfare protection for journalists. Afenifere raises the alarm over kidnapping, burning of INEC offices in the southwest. JAM automates curriculum, admissions, accreditation, and others. Reps ask federal government to release 5 billion naira to mitigate effects of flooding. 2 million adults living with diabetes in Africa, 58% die before the age of 70, says World Health Organization. Over to the Nation.
Checking out the headlines of the stories you'll find on the nation's newspapers. Exchange rate regime remains Nigeria's concern, says Oshimbajo. Investment in news catalyst to economic development, says Buhari. Ipman, deregulation is solution to petrol scarcity. Report, FCT, Lagos and 25 others to face food and nutrition crisis.
On this, the newspapers floods, lawmakers urge Buhari to request 100 billion naira supplementary budget from National Assembly. NESG sets priorities for Atiku, Tinubu, Obi, Kwakwaso and others. Bajabi Amila, 2023 budget ready for presidential assent in December. Soludo, I won't succumb to bullies. Obi knows he cannot win. Over to Daily Trust.
All right, now to Daily Trust. Naira redesign. CBN confirms rise in deposits to protect unbanked Nigerians. Akwa Ibom. Court sacks Akpabio as APC senatorial candidate. Caution your spokesman. Abdusalami committee tells presidential candidates. Security beefed as Tinubu flags off campaign today. Over to Ben Pushin.
Yes, finally on the Ben Pushin newspapers, Drug Law Enforcement Agency arrests runaway Lagos socialite over alleged drug trafficking. Truck kills 2 Nigerian police officers. Governor Abiodun promises construction of health center, completion of civic center at Arepo Journalist Estate. And this are the headlines making the rounds across different Nigerian newspapers. Be a part of the conversation. Send us a text or a WhatsApp message this morning on 070-317-565 37. Yes, going into the headlines.
All right, let's start off with this particular one here, very close to us here. So this one is on pen pushing. This one says Governor Abiodun promises construction of health center, completion of civic center at HURIWA Journalist Estate. The Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun on Monday approved and gave order for immediate construction of state-of-art health facility for Journalist Estate in HURIWA, located in the Bafemoro local government area of the state. Benkusha reports that Abiodun approval came following request by former chairman of Journalist Estate Resident Association, Mrs. Funke Faduba, while speaking on behalf of the landlords in the estate when the governor featured as a guest at media parley organized by the residents. The governor, who earlier commissioned the 2.35 kilometer HURIWA Journalist Estate Road, gave the express approval, assuring that the health facility will be completed within the next 4 months, adding that a well-equipped ambulance would also be provided, and called on the works commissioner to commence action on the project as early as possible. Rodrigo, what do you have to say to this?
Oh, that's a very interesting one. Like I'd always said, I live in Aripo, and I'm impressed with what the governor has been doing. That's the dividends of democracy. This is what governors should do, not just for Aripo, for Magboro, for Wawa, for Ibafo, for Mowe. This is for Akute. Those of us on the outskirts of seeing Lagos, we seem to have always been left behind by the governors of Ogun State. But this is a good one, and the icing on the cake is a health center. It's long overdue. There's need for an health center here. There's need for a security, police post here. I know a land is allocated for police construction. All of those things should go pari passu. It's necessary for the people. Good one by the Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun. I can say he has my vote. I'm not a fan of his party, but he has my vote because he's giving us the dividends of democracy.
So I was going to ask you, talking about dividends of democracy, do you really think this is coming as like a promise, or it's coming on the heels of election coming 2023?
Irrespective of when it's coming, the bottom line is it should be delivered. Now, what I would also want to ask, the question I would want journalists to be asking and Nigerians to be asking is this value for money? It's good we have a road done. It's good we have a hospital construction coming, but when we talk about the wastefulness of our resources is also attached to little projects. This is just a 2.3 kilometer road. Less than 3 kilometer road. Now, what is the cost? I don't know. I'm not criticizing the government, but these are questions we should ask as individuals. If as an estate developer, what will it cost me to have this sort of road built in my estate? Now, as the governor, how much has been spent to build this estate? These are questions we should ask. We should also, beyond politicians doing what they should do, we should also learn to hold them accountable on what they do.
Okay, so what you're saying right now, it took me back to something that happened sometime in my area where people were saying that if we had a lot of politicians who, and I'm trying to quote somebody, that's why I'm sounding like this, we were trying to say that politicians don't do for us, even if they even do what they're supposed to do for us, and they still and they still embezzle funds, that it's not a problem. And I was watching this person like, why are you saying this? Why are you saying that if they do one for you and
we've been so debased in this country, and like Malcolm X said, a slave that is comfortable in the house of his master believes there's no better life
outside.
So that's the situation we found as a country. It's quite funny. Leadership is purely about service. If you want to be a businessman, go out there.
Okay.
But the funny thing is, even the fact that you're a leader, there's no gratification that could be more than that. So I don't understand why people, and of course the reason is most of the time to keep. The only reason people that steals our Commonwealth is because they want us to remain in darkness. At the end of the day, the true part of this funds to few people, and before you know it, we are so divided amongst ourselves, just like we see in the polity all the time. I mean, there's a lot of things that we realize that we as the electorate, we as the people, we defend for politicians that makes you think. You know, at times you're thinking like you almost want to start. Oh boy, are you normal? I mean,
see, in recent times, since the campaign started, elections and all, having conversations with people off the radio, and when some people say certain things, in my head I'm like, wait, calm down. Are you sure you are fine? Let me be sure that I am all right. I'm just listening to this person because it begins to seem like maybe I don't know what. Like things are not looking like the way they used to look like anymore.
Was it Saturday or Sunday? There's this group I belong to. Anyway, for those who know me, wherever I am, I'm always, I don't beat around the bush. And this man came into my DM and said, Lobiko, calm down. You're criticizing this thing too much. You seem to be the one that is blah, 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 blah. It won't pay you at the end of the day. This, that. You know, I realize that most of the time, this fear is...
for the fear of not being blacklisted.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
It's for the fear of not being blacklisted. And if it's better you're blacklisted today and you live a better environment for your children and your children's
even your conscience will bless you.
Even your conscience will bless you. I mean, for someone to go as far as telling me, and I'm married to those tribe. They are not people you should be defending. This is not about, you see, as Nigerians, first and foremost, we need to start seeing ourselves as Nigeria. The fact remains, the only time we see ourselves as a tribe or as a religious group is during politics. For politicians, they intentionally create that narrative. Outside politics, we see ourselves as Nigerians. So I think I go to the Aboki, I buy what do they call it? Cucumber from him. The Aboki go to Yoruba, they eat Kamala. And this thing goes round and round.
So this takes me back to
my wife went on a course to study how to cook Igbo soup. So we are so intertwined, but the only time
that we remember we belong to a particular group
is because of politics. We need to overcome that. Would a Rishi Sunak have been a prime minister if that was? And you see, the only reason we can't reason like that is also because the level of literacy, the level of education is very low. Education liberates. For any government that would want to liberate the country, even you see, when everybody is educated, less will be allocated even for terrorism. Less will be allocated for crime. Less combating crime, terrorism, and all of that. Because you see, the mind is so creative, extremely creative. But a dormant mind will always find a way of unleashing itself, which is why we are where we are in the country. As simple as that. We saw the girl that was the Shipboard girls that were kidnapped. She was playing the guitar. She had that opportunity. She was composing songs. That is something she probably would never have achieved, even if she finished university in Nigeria. I'm not talking about when she was kidnapped. There are others that we had that they even had the opportunity to take them out of the country. Their parents were saying no. That is how debased we are as a people.
So, coming back to the part where you mentioned that when it comes to politics, that's when we remember tribes and religion and stuff. I think we really need to do a lot in talking to people. There was this comedy skit I saw, not necessarily comedy, but a skit I saw in about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it really sent a strong message to me. Anybody who says that one, you would know that this person is trying to pass a message. So this guy was brought in on a stretcher. And everybody was running, trying to make sure that this person, they save his life, they get into the hospital and all. Nobody was asking, are you a Christian, are you a Muslim, are you a traditional worshipper? Nobody's asking, what state are you from? What tribe do you belong to? Nobody was asking that point. What mattered at that time was saving the person's life. And in this course of saving Nigeria and doing for ourselves what we need to do, all of these other things should not matter. It's all secondary. It's not the first conversation we should be having.
Like I'd always advocated, I found God, and I've come to realize that God is not a Christian, he's not a Muslim, he's not a Hindu, he's not anything. All of those religions were just formulated by human, because the moment you are born, the search for God begins. So the fact that the search for God begins, wherever you are born into, what is handed over to you as the way of God is what you use.
What you take on. Yes.
The fact remains, the only time you ever find God is when you find love
and peace amongst people.
You see, once there's love, there's peace. That's why you see a terrorist who trying to escape after being pursued. Once Good Samaritan, not minding whether it's a terrorist or otherwise,
you still help out.
And do you know what happens? He wins over that terror. Even if the terrorist eventually escapes and they come back to come and hurt that town, the terrorist makes sure that person is protected. So what is the real language? The real language is love. How would you say you love the next man when you watch him hungry? Whereas you can feed him. How will you say you love the next man when you should build an hospital and you don't build it? You only lay the foundation in the name of politics. How would you say you love those you are leading? I mean, I was traveling through Mowe Road again.
Okay.
The immediate past governor of our Ogun State, he just did that road recently. How old is the road? Everything is messed up again. How would you? I mean, that is even aside the fact that he only did one lane, which was what he almost replicated in a lot of places like that. But what's the quality of this road? That is why I'm giving it to that Bible. I mean, we all know that this is a good road. We all know that this will stand the test of time. But beyond doing the roads, beyond giving the dividends of democracy, let's hold them accountable.
Let's hold them accountable. I think that is something we should lay on. Yes, hold your leaders accountable and let love reign.
All right, thank you very much for that, Lubinko. Yes, it is 11 minutes to 8 on Women Radio 91.7, and this is the newspaper review. The newspaper review is where we get to review the dailies across different Nigerian newspapers, and we get to analyze them together. Be a part of the conversation. Send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070-317-565-37 070-317-565-37 to be a part of the newspaper review this morning. Do on live WFM 917. Now going into this one on the Nation newspapers, this one says Abdulsalami panel, rising violence threaten polls. Now the generals threaten polls. Now, the General Abdulsalami Abubakar-led National Peace Committee has called on candidates to rein in their spokesmen and supporters to make electioneering campaigns violence-free. Now, expressing concerns over the wave of violence and political rallies, the NPC has decried the use of intemperate language, intimidation, and outright violence by party supporters. Now, this one, I know we've had this conversation, and this is coming from the NPC in line with the words of the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who accused politicians and political actors of hitting the polity with their refusal to play by the rules. Now, coming from NPC, this one, let's look at the way we see how to play by the rules. Now, coming from NPC, this one, let's look at the way we've seen some spokesmen of political parties go on media platforms to, yes, I'm one person that when it comes to having conversations, you can have a civil conversation. You can speak, you can say what you need to say without calling another person out.
Yeah.
But when you go and you forget the cause of why you are there, and you go about throwing shades and calling out other people without selling your name calling, without selling your own party, that is where there is a problem.
You shouldn't expect anything better. You said civil conversation from an uncivil person. Most of the time when you look at these people that the spokespersons of these politicians, I mean, look at their trajectory in the country. Would you agree they are civil? Would you agree? I mean, one of them the other day was telling a journalist, do you know who I am? Or one of them the other day was attacking a co-debater on the platform. That, who are you? Who is your father? When I was growing up. Is that civil? One of them goes about brandishing designers, cars, motorbikes. Are they civil? The question, the thought line should be from Nigerians. You see, the fact that one of them sued the person he's speaking for now. What do you expect? You see, beyond the candidates, look at those also representing them. Look at those who come out to talk about them. Look at the trajectory they have in our polity. Don't just because of your party. You see, birds of the same feather would always flock together. So don't look at the fact that, because I'm supporting this person, this is the... all of these things are what counts. Even some of the presidential candidates, their words, their utterances are uncivil. So invariably, unfortunately, when elephants fight, the grass suffers it. We, the people, are the ones suffering it. But one thing we should always know is that we own that field. We own the grass. Let's pull it off from under them. As simple as that. You see, all over the world, fans, you would always have
The extremists.
civils, you have the extremists, you have the fanatics and all of that. We can't throw that away. But what the major players do, it's just like we're talking about football. On a football field, fans ordinarily at the peak of everything. We've had our fans killing one another. But does the footballers support that? That is why the footballers, before entering the ring, they do what? They shake hands. After finishing the match, they do what? They exchange jests. That's to tell you, you can imagine a team being flogged at home, and the person being flogged and the person that flogged still have the dexterity
Because it is a game.
exchange. That is how life should be seen. It's never a do or die affair. And what and how the leadership, the candidates, how they go about this, the sermon they preach goes a long way to eventually bring about. When footballers, you see them exchanging just, fair enough, yesterday, the presidential candidate of APC and the presidential candidate of PDP, they met at...
Oh yes, I saw that video.
They sat. The funny thing is, between you and I, if the other candidates were there, that's the scenario that we would have. But the moment they handle the mic, beyond... yes, you can be provoked to want to talk, but there's what we call decorum. You should. Jibes is part of politics. The greatest politicians I've known in the world, they throw shades, they throw jibes at each other, but it never, you understand, results into violence, which still brings us back to being educated as a country.
Okay.
Lack of education is worrying us.
Okay, so Lubinko, thank you so much for that one. Still talking about hitting up the polity and hate speech, because I'm really particular about that one.
This one,
and because it has a tendency of, bringing about violence at the end of the day. You see two people seated and then they are arguing
and it turns into something else.
Turns into something else if they are uncareful. So as individuals, as citizens, what role do we have to play in this one?
It's very simple. Penultimate Saturday, I was at a gathering and we were having this conversation. Of course, it was getting heated. The moment I made my point, I kept quiet. And the other person, they continued into almost about 1 hour after I kept quiet. And you see, that's his passion. And when we left the place, my friend just got me, we've been cool.
You're not saying anything.
You're not saying anything. Everybody already knows where my stand is. There's no point arguing it. So as individuals, this is what we should do. I mean, if I'm supporting a candidate, I see you bring a news that is not true, that is fake, I mean, I'm never intimidated to tell you this is fake. Where I can, I go on Google, I bring in verifiable information, details on it, and now it's left to you. I won't engage you because the fact remains, like I would always say, I don't want to lose any of my friend because of any politician. I once was a politician myself, but I decided to step out of politics. And face nation building. And when I talk about my nation building, it is all about orienting the people how to act and be part of politics. We can't just stay off it. Everything that happens in the political arena, we are the ones it affects. Every decision made, we are the one it affects. We're talking about this road right now. The person we voted in, who knew that he very well he got the vote from here. He had come to do this for us. Are we happy? Yes, we are. So invariably, as citizens, but the fact remains, I might never meet him till I die. Yes, I've met him maybe once or twice. That's a privilege to have met the state governor. But the fact remains that I will see you every day. And because we have divided our opinion, I should not make war with you. I'll probably die a lonely man. And I don't want to die a lonely man. As citizens, we should know that. And we should act along that line. We don't have to agree on everything. But that does not mean the moment you realize that it's getting toxic, detach yourself.
Okay, so going by what Rubinko said, I'm going to paint this picture. So there was this conversation I was having with somebody, and this person, when clearly something is white in color, but this person was trying so hard to paint it red to me. But I could see clearly with all of the data I had, everything that this thing is white. But if you choose to see it as red, it's fine. Hold on to it. That's what it is for you. But some people don't know where to draw the line. Hold your opinion, I'll hold mine. Do you understand? But people still want to shove their own opinions down your throat. And I have an issue with that.
I was going to say something about that because I know that I wanted to Lubinko to touch that aspect as well. In this period and season, when we look at one of the reasons, or some of the reasons we have violence is because we're trying to force our opinion down people. So In recent times, we've seen celebrities, we've seen actors and actresses, musicians pledge their support to one candidate or the other. And then we've seen people in the society saying, oh, you are wrong for supporting this particular person. I think you should, I think because you are a celebrity, I think because you are in the let's say limelight. Limelight, yeah, thank you for that word. People are going to follow you. You're supposed to do this and you're not supposed to do this. How do you know what I'm supposed to do? I wish that I was
you see, like I said, it's normal to have banters. It's normal to have arguments. Matter of fact, there's no brand in the world that didn't grow through argument. I mean, at least the little I know about board meetings, it's an argument ground.
Oh yes, because everybody has, you have to bring your case diversity.
Fiction. So it's, but like I have been saying, we have a people, and who do we look forward to give leadership? There are these people you're talking about. Some people, because they see me riding a bicycle, they are even trekking. They probably already see me as a leader to them. So it now behoves on you as that individual to comport yourself. You see, there are ways you can, in most of the cases, like I said, they are the extremists. Ignore them, let them be.
Okay.
Recently, I would mention names now. Just last week, or was it Sunday, Governor Soludo, on Monday, yes. And then yesterday he came out and was writing.
Oh, there's a headline to that one, so we'll still go into that one.
So, at the end of the day, that banters all he wrote. He was only reacting to supporters. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And whether you like it or not, don't be surprised. This base of support is still the one you want to pull from. So it takes wisdom at times. So invariably, at the end of the day, you as a person, a leadership figure, you should always provide leadership. And how do you provide leadership? You provide leadership to your supporters and to those who are not in your support. You should be a unification ground. It doesn't mean you should always have your stance, but we all read of Awolowo now. Everybody always knew his stance, but even his oppositions, they always respected him. We need to build people to that level. And the only way we can get there is through education. We really need to expend so much on education.
All right.
In this country.
Thank you so much, Lobinko, for that. It is 4 minutes past 8 on the Women Radio WFM 91.7, and this is the newspaper review. The newspaper review is where we get to review the dailies across different Nigerian newspapers, and we get to analyze them together. Be a part of the conversation. Send us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070 317 565 37 070 317 565 37. You can listen live at the website www.wfm917.com. My name is Esther Alaribe, and I have with me Blessing Agbeton. Our analyst for the morning is Obide Olarawaju Lobinko. Taking some of your messages here, Val Okachi says the approval by the governor for the construction of the health center in Aripo is indeed a welcome development. For many years, the communities along the Mowe-Ibafu-Aripo axis have been deliberately ignored by government of the state. We hope that the recently approved project will not end up as another white elephant project. This are the words of Val Okachi. We have this message here from Rosen Jamati in Lakbara. This one says, good morning, dear presenter. Yes, good morning to you. People are doing fit course because the security personnel will ask for money to perform their civic duty. I also treat the matter with levity. I petitioned somebody owing me half a million who refused to pay. I petitioned him at the EFCC, and after a month of submitting this petition, I was asked to go back to report at a police station that would ask me for a fee to mobilize mobilize them and 10% of the money. The followers are so bad that it is difficult for them to elect a good leader from them. The crook leaders close their eyes to all of these happenings because they did the same to get to where they are currently. I just pray that the masses will stop taking their own lives and let some things slide. Okay, Ulisha Gajaye from Ikorodu is saying, even though Obi cannot win according to Soludo, but what evil has Obi committed in coming out to contest? It is not Obi himself. It's not about Obi himself, but Nigerians are suffering too much and desperately need a chance of change. Mr. Soludo should face governance in Anambra State and leave Obi alone. So I think this part is just going to take us into this headline talking about Professor Charles Soludo.
Like I'd always said, if you think you have the influence to influence people, use it rightly. I have people that call me Egbon, that sees me as a leader figure, that are not even on the same page with me politically at this time. And one thing I've been able to do is we've had personal, when we're on the open space, but when they're on they are even able to open up and say, oh, but everybody is waiting we go chop and all of that. It's an unfortunate thing. It is a very unfortunate one, but it is how much we don't believe in ourselves as a country, as a people. How debased we are being. Much we don't believe in ourselves as a country, as a people. How debased we have become. Oh God, Nigerians are debased. God, help us. We are so debased. We are so debased that everything wrong is now being defended.
Being celebrated.
Being celebrated. You see fraudsters. Fraud is now about a normal way of living. Everywhere you go, you hear Yahoo boy. That's fraud. Racial is coming up. Everybody seems to be an addict right now. Our ladies, everybody is doing hookup. Hookup is a normal thing now. Yeah, it's just and at the end of the day, who benefits from all of this? Most of the time, those that are supposed to be leading you, those you look upon as your leader, those you look upon stealing your commonwealth, carries you, no matter how much they give you. It blocks your creativity. It blocks your reasoning ability. At some point, you probably will just be dumped. And then you go all about men has come, women has come. Our young men now, they're looking for sugar mommy up and down. No. We need to get it right. And unfortunately, for us to get it right, it is the duty of the leaders. That is why I'm advising every Nigerian, see yourself. If you know you have it, see yourself as a leader and make effort at it. Make effort at it.
All right. Okay, so talking about Professor Charles Soludo, this headline on Daily Trust newspapers has the headline, Letter Bomb. Peter will be silent as his supporters descend on Soludo.
Like I said earlier, Peter Obi does not have to say anything.
I want to even give like a little bit back story to it. So, Peter Obi, presidential candidate of Labour Party, has kept mum on the strongly worded letter which Governor Charles Soludo wrote about his 2023 ambition. Now, this letter has set the internet on fire because people have been talking. Now, in the 4,008 word piece of Professor Charles Soludo, he dismissed Obi as a joker in the 2020 election, saying that he would only deplete the votes of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar of PDP and widen the chance of the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is just what he's going to do, tracing the multi-defections of Obi from APGA to PDP and Labour Party, which he described transit camp for aspirants who lost primaries. The governor said Obi himself knows he cannot win. So, having put out all of these words, I was on this particular social media platform last night, reading some of the comments that supporters of the Labour Party and supporters of the presidential candidates of the Labour Party as well had to respond. Like, they were so direct that some people would ask him, if you use that particular social media platform, you know that you can send a direct message to somebody, like it is you I am talking to. That's what they were doing. And putting out so much comments on it. And people were asking Professor Charles Soludo of Anambra State, go focus on governance in your state. You're barely even settled in. There are so many things that you ought to be doing. Why are you here? And all of that. Now, some of the tweets from some of the supporters, somebody said, Charles Soludo does not have the time for flood victims in Anambra State, but he had the time to write a series like this on Peter Obi, and the person went ahead to use some of. He had the time to write a series like this on Peter Obi, and the person went ahead to use some other words I will not be taking here. So many comments here.
It's quite funny. Nigerians, you need to liberate yourself from politicians. I mean, if we are one-on-one, I will tell you I want to vote for. I will convince you on why you should vote for me. And then I would allow you to also try to convince me. If you convince me, fine.
Then you have it, okay.
If I can convince you, good. But if we can't convince each other, let's respect each other's decision. Politicians are using us against ourselves.
I really want to see, but when people say that politicians are using us against ourselves, I think
politicians are using us against ourselves.
I really want to see, but when people say that politicians are using us against ourselves, I think it's just the electorate against the electorate. Yes, because nobody sent you a message.
You know why I'm saying this? Just I was watching a video of what's his name? This same Soludo, where he was praising Peter Obi. I think I have that video here. I mean, this is the same person. How? So it marvels me. How can you say this so much to a person, and in the next minute you go back and you're saying, well, exact. So it just goes to tell you. You see, it just goes to tell you. I don't know. It's just about some seconds. It just goes to tell you that lowest unemployment of any state in Nigeria is 30%. National Bureau of Statistics and the president. Anambra State has poverty rate declined from 53% under Itobi to 14.78% last year. National Bureau of Statistics.
Well,
you know what I'm saying invariably? We should not allow ourselves be used. That is why you should always do your findings by yourself and then make a decision. Someone who said all this is coming out to say otherwise. And the funny thing is, when he said this, he was reading out facts.
Okay.
That can be verified. But everything that he's saying in that letter is emotional. It's sentimental.
Another thing for us to look at is, before somebody will take out time to write such a piece, you probably have your data put together from like different sources to put that together, because there has to be like some kind of strong conviction for you to do that. I would not devote my time into putting out something without having some kind of, yes, there has to be some kind of driving force where you can actually challenge the
like I rightly said, I read the letter and the content of it is all sentiment. I mean, you talked about gathering facts. The facts, there's no facts here except statements. Like politicians will say, I will be your next president. Or like politicians will say, you can't get a vote. Those are statements. And For someone like me, I mean, I'm talking about it for the first time on every platform I belong to. I do not even utter a word to it because I see it as just mere political statement that every politician does against someone they are opposing. I'm looking out for the facts, not for the sentiments that is being pushed out. Yes, it's a trending story.
Doesn't make any difference.
It doesn't make any difference. I mean, those who are interested, those who are praising him for their own because they see it as supporting what they want. Those who are castigating him are castigating him. But are those the facts I want to hear? That's not it. I mean, someone can just come and tell me, someone is telling me that, okay, the investment has reduced. That investment rose to a point. Everybody knows that dollar crash. The person that made the investment was not the governor. What happened? That the person in government allowed it to crash. That same person, the savings he made while in office, where his predecessor built an airport in Anambra with it. These are facts that can be verified. Which even the successor, mentioned himself that it was the savings left behind, whereas we have people that go about leaving only debt. Now, I mean, it's so funny how we Nigerians think. Some are out talking about we don't want someone who saves money when people are dying. Whereas we have people out who did not only embezzle, they embezzled. Aside embezzling, they left huge debts. And aside that, they tell us they generated a lot.
Okay, so in this case now, would you support the calls for, because there have been some calls, people asking the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, to call back his supporters from throwing shades and going at Professor Charles Oludo. So would you agree to this part where you're just silent and not saying anything?
So far, so good. Peter Obi has responded to that before even this came out. What happened here is Soludo incited people. I mean, he attacked the belief of some people and they are giving it to him. This is not a case of supporters attacking someone now. It was a direct assault and he is getting the feedback for it. As for Peter Obi, I think he came out just last week telling his supporters, calm down.
Okay.
Don't use derogatory. We've seen another presidential candidate come out and say, we won't exchange words, but tell them shut up. I mean, you see, at the end of the day, we just need to keep weighing everything. Peter Obi does not have to respond. I mean, every politician, not all politician. I'm not even talking about Peter Obi now. We've seen attacks on the person of other presidential candidate, where their spokesperson they come out to defend. Where they can't, they keep quiet. And then the presidential candidates themselves, they really talk. I mean, when you talk about one of the presidential candidates that is talking most, is actually Peter Obi and Showore. As in why? So I mean, we feel this is not a topic that should trend.
All right, so let's take some of your messages here. Mr. Jeremy is saying, Kwakwaso confession on security. Yes, Kwakwaso confession on security bonds and constituency project funds should be given serious consideration and added to the to-do list of anyone vying for the presidential seat, as it is obvious it is a sure way of shortchanging the masses and enriching politicians' pockets. Any presidential candidate that cannot assure Nigerians of building functional refineries in his first 6 months in office is a crook and corrupt candidate. Bad fellows will never produce good lead in office is a crook and corrupt candidate. Bad fellows will never produce good leaders. Okay. Abiola Nikeja is saying the DHQ some terrorists wanted. This is a good development that should have been declared since over a year. However, the military should continue their firepower against all terrorists. I really don't understand why the court pled indefinitely the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Then he also says Soludo finds it difficult to support Peter Obi because his own party, ABGA, have their own presidential candidates they want to promote as against Peter Obi. Okay. Vala Kachi is saying that Charles Oludo appears clearly to be a bundle of contradiction. Any leader who acts on impulse has started failing even from the beginning.
Okay, later, Soludo rightly said, as of March this year. Are you with me? March this year, he told Peter Obi to Abga, right? He said he told Peter Obi to come to Abga. So had it been Peter Obi was in Abga,
would you be having this? Is that what
would
you
we be having this? The answer is no. And politicians should also be deliberate. Abga is just like AD, the only national parties we have right now is APC, PDP, and funny enough now, Labour Party having that clout as a national party. Virtually every other party are known as sectional party. When you talk about NNPP is a northern party. When you talk about ABGA, when you talk about AD, I'm just making waves as a way.
Okay.
These are the realities.
All right. Let's take this message.
But like I said, please let's be sensitive to politics.
Okay.
Those who are playing politics with our money. Open our head and think straight.
All right. We have this message from Tony in Birmingham. Tony is already sent me a message telling me, Esther, take my message because I just woke up to join your show. Yes, I will take your message, Tony. So this message is from Tony in Birmingham. This one says, based on the reports coming out of Anambra State, I would have thought that Professor Chukwuma Soludo plays the job of restoring the state to past glory of the state, courtesy of Mr. Governor, being the type of flashy life that other governors would live. That is the kind of lifestyle that is making our youth to go out and commit all manners of crime in order to belong. Let me just take this message to the end. I'm not even sure that Mr. Peter Obi has a private jet like most of his contemporaries, despite the fact that he was a self-made billionaire before joining politics and thereafter goes back into private life instead of retiring in the Senate, like so many other governors do.
Like